Hi, welcome to a Consultant's Guide to TSR. Today I'm going to show you the differences between a kiosk scheduled appointment and an appointment that's been scheduled online, and then what you can do if you have a walk-in student. Again, this is for in-person tutoring. For online tutoring, there's a whole separate video series on that. So let's get started with, I'm going to share my screen here with you. And again, you want to make sure you're logged in to the system. And what we're going to start with is the difference between a kiosk and, I'm going to show you each of the report screens themselves so that you can see, begin to see the differences and the amount of information that is generated to us by the system or not generated at all. Now, again, as a quick reminder from the first video, the plus here indicates that the student made the appointment online, meaning that they filled out the form to request an in-person appointment online. Okay. The no plus at all here means that they used our kiosk at one of our centers. Okay. There's a couple of handy things on this. You can click on the student's ID number and it'll actually show you all their past reports. In going back to whenever they started coming in, and to get back to the main page, you just simply click on reports. You could also click on this and it'll go to your email program, and you can send them an email if you need, for some reason, maybe you need to ask them a question. I would always use your Bruin Mail or your Slick mail account to contact students, though, if you're going to do that. Most of the time, most people don't have to. They can handle it. If it's an in-person session, they can usually handle it in person. Now, let's look at the kiosk-made appointment first, okay? So if I click on this, this is how you edit reports in your upcoming appointment list. It's a little different from the past session list, because the past session list has an edit button there instead of just the report ID button. Okay? So if I click on that, it'll take me to this page. Now, this is the essential report page. This will look the exact same if it is kiosk generated, if it's generated by the system when they fill out the form, or if you create a blank one for a walk-in session. Future Clint here. I just realized I forgot to tell you something very important. On the TSR report page, you'll notice the top bar that lists a few options. There's one of the buttons is finish. You want to make absolutely sure that you do not click finish until you are done with the student. What finish does is it finishes up the report and removes the appointment out of the system. So if you hit finish early, it gets taken out, the appointment gets taken out of the system, and students can schedule for you right over the top of the other student. And it also removes it off of the student's upcoming appointment list. So do not hit finish until you are done with the session. Same goes for delete. Do not hit delete. I would suggest never hitting delete unless you absolutely know you want to get rid of usually a self-generated report, which we'll get into in a minute here. Back to the regularly scheduled Clint. Now, for the kiosk kiosk submission, you only get this top part filled out. Now, if the student has either an account in the system or they have met with a tutor before. Now, if they don't have an account in the system or they haven't met with a tutor before, it will show up like this. It'll say new student. Okay? Now, new student just simply means that they have never been to the Writing Center before, or at least they don't have an account, or they actually haven't come in before. So it's a good indicator that you might want to explain to them a little bit about how the Writing and Reading Center works, and help them to make, to have a sense, at least have a little orientation to what it is we do. There's oftentimes a lot of misunderstanding about what happens in sessions or what's going to go on. So you can spend a little time talking with them. I usually always ask if they actually have been in before anyway, just to kind of help set the stage for an appointment. Um, uh, so all of this will be filled in by the kiosk other than returning student. That one usually is always set to no. You can change that to yes if you want. The other stuff on here, the class info, the well, it'll know who you are and where the appointment is, as well as when the appointment is, but that's about it. Okay? So you probably want to ask them, other questions like what the title of their assignment is, what genre is, that sort of thing. You can also ask them, well, language is actually already selected, that's right. But well, we'll get to creating a whole appointment and a whole blank session sheet in a minute. The other stuff here, focus is blank, nothing's checked because again, the kiosk doesn't work like that. And then these areas are also blanked. We'll get to this section, this post-session section in the next video that's coming up about actually reflecting on and filling out the report. Okay? Today, I just want to show you the differences between the 3 different appointment types. So I'm going to go back to the main page again. I can click on TSR home over here and run reports to get there. Now let's look at the difference between the kiosk version and when the student fills out a report form online. Okay, got the same information about them. It knows who they are. Okay, but this time it also knows the class, okay, and their professor. It also knows when the assignment is due, and I did purposely select today as the assignment is due. Doesn't ask in things like, do they have their assignment sheet? So you can always ask that again as well. All of these things you can ask for to fill out for more information. Things like, it doesn't ask their genre or the media type, so you could ask that. It doesn't necessarily ask them, it does ask them the title of what it is they're working on. Okay. One thing it does ask is the stage of the writing process, and this is a rough draft. These other bits of information are going to be used for when you actually fill out the after the session. Okay, and we'll get onto that in the next video. One thing it does provide, however, is a description of the assignment, what they think their assignment strengths are, their writing strengths. Actually, it's not an assignment strength, and their writing weaknesses, and then the students' questions and what they want to focus on. Now, this was actually a real session that I had with one of our Spanish-speaking tutors because I had a translation of a author's bio and wanted to make sure that it was, not native sounding per se, but that it wasn't awkward and that it was native enough that I could get by, that people could read it and understand it and not be confused. And so that's what I described my assignment. Then I told them my strengths were, I think I'm pretty good with vocabulary. I do remember a lot of Spanish words, but I'm not so good at idiomatic Spanish. So I would need some help with that. And idioms usually make it sound more native, more fluid. And then I asked, does it sound native? Does everything make sense? Okay. So these are things that I can get from the writer before a session. And that's one of the positive benefits of students making an appointment online. So if you're meeting with a student and they're walk-in or using the kiosk, I'd encourage them to make an appointment online because it gives us more information and we can give them better feedback. We can also review these things before sessions if you have the time to do that. Now, another added benefit is to making an appointment online is that the student can upload a file. And I actually did that. I uploaded my translation and there it is. I just clicked on it and it opened it up in a new window. That G-View just simply means it's using a Google Doc viewer to open it. I can also use O-View, which is an Outlook doc viewer. Or I can simply download it. I usually save downloading to last. If they ever do not download for you, let your lab coordinator or me know, and I'll look into the system and see if there's any way of salvaging it. Okay, so if it comes up as like can't find the file, then there might have been an error in uploading it. Okay. Now, the one last thing I'm going to show you is basically how to create a walk-in. Okay, and to create a walk-in, you go to this button right up here and or create a walk-in report, I should say. You go and click on this button here, create. And now this is a completely blank form. There is nothing filled out. The top part isn't. Um, the student ID number, nothing is in there simply because you just click like you're going to have to ask the student all of these things. Now, find and create may or may not work. I'm going to try it out now and see if I can get it to work. I had it working for a while, but I'm not sure it is. Hey, it worked. You know, so if I type in that, if I type in a student ID number, that's their S number, and type it in and click on find and create, it at least can pull their information out of the system and put it up there. Now, if the student is there, it'll say student not found, and you'll have to fill it out anyway. Okay, and you'll notice the button goes away because it's found the student. You'll have to go through and ask them, you know, what class are you in? An accounting 015 class. You can ask them their instructor. Is there an assignment sheet? Usually most students have assignment sheets in Canvas these days. So if they have Canvas, then you can pull it up. It's a good idea to have them do that. Ask them when it's due. It's a good idea to ask these foundational questions, just simply because it gives you an idea of how much time they have to revise. Now, if they say today, like I did in the other one, then you know maybe you really need to help the student focus down, or sometimes maybe even ask for an extension from their instructor. But if it's due like at the end of the semester, then you know that the student has got plenty of time to work on it and think about it. It will, when you create the report, it will have your information in here. Um, um, and when the appointment is, and then we'll get into filling out the actual form in the next video. But you'll see everything else is blank here. Now you can fill out these sections, and we'll talk about that in the next video as well. Okay. Well, that's a general brief overview of the 3 different appointment types and how you can create an appointment for a walk-in or create a report for a walk-in student, how to tell the difference between a walk in a student who's made an appointment at the kiosk and a student who's made an appointment online. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks so much.